When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world.
I'd buy that for $1.
Well, welcome! Greetings and salutations.
Hola.
This is SeptumSin, and I'm here with Kodabuki Jake.
Right?
We bid you to put up your feet, relax with us, and take a good listen to what we feel is fun and exciting for the week.
Mm-hmm.
This is our Vlogcast. For those of you who have been listening to our Vlogcasts in the past, I'm glad to see you've come back with us.
Yes.
Just spend a little bit of time together with us, relaxing and enjoying life. Of course, if you haven't, what's kept you? But with that being said, let's talk about, well, what we've been watching this week.
Mm-hmm.
I have not been watching anything this week. I've watched a bunch of things this week, but I have not actually been watching anything this week. So why don't I start with what you've been watching, and we'll just do watching, watched, and moving on. So what have you been watching and reading this week? Because I know you like to keep up with what you've been doing.
There has been a pretty fair bit this week, and it's been some variety too, which is kind of cool. First of all, in terms of the various films that I have seen, I'm probably forgetting one or two, but I did mark at least 4 films that are very, very different from one another. I finally got to watch, I did some cat sitting over the weekend, which opened up some opportunities for viewing that I don't always have. One being getting to play a Blu-ray that wouldn't play on my damn player at home. So I finally got to watch my copy of Captain America the Winter Soldier, which was a very fun film, very good film. And I also got to watch some Netflix, which doesn't happen all that often. And I watched the Oscar-winning documentary feature Icarus about the Russian doping scandal. And I have to say, it is a very good film. It's very informative and pretty entertaining. The Russian dude at the center of the scandal actually is a real likable guy. He's a real affable fella. He reminded me of some people I know. So I kind of felt for him. But it's a very interesting film. Structurally, it's a little odd, but I still maintain that the Oscars and Netflix, they need to figure out exactly where they stand on streaming versus theatrical releases. But at any rate, I finally, speaking of Oscar-nominated films, I finally got to see The Red Turtle. I've never seen that. It is a really, really good film. Really good. I had a little bit of an issue with it. I don't want to say exactly the issues I had because I don't want to spoil it if you've never seen it. I'm debating whether the guy at the center of the story deserved everything that, and I mean the good things that came his way. He did something early on that I was like, the hell is wrong with you, dude? And you probably know what I'm talking about. I think overall it was a good film. It was very pretty. The film it's actually a European production, Wild Bunch and Studio Canal and whatever, and I believe it was a Dutch director, but it was a co-production with Studio Ghibli. It's the first non-Japanese film they've been involved in producing, and Isao Takahata, the late Isao Takahata, actually was credited as artistic producer on the film. So, and it had definitely a Takahata vibe, I think, in a lot of ways. And then the last one, I don't know, do you want to talk about the last night's viewing? Or all right.
Yeah. All right.
We all set?
Oh, yeah, it's going.
Oh. All right. Sorry about the brief interruption there. We had the other movie this week that we both saw that I wasn't sure what I would make of it. And
I gotta release the cat. You go ahead.
I actually found it to be more entertaining than I expected. Was this week's selection for Inside Movies Galore. Tune into that, by the way, to see the overall discussion. I'll just mention briefly that we saw Return of the Living Dead. Action, it was sort of horror comedy zombie film from the 80s. Well,
He
Mr.
was making
Larson.
a ruckus.
Yes. He wanted to be on film. Otherwise, this week, I finished Angelic Layer, which is a very fun series. I very much enjoyed it. And finally finished Season 4 of Boardwalk Empire. I still need to get Season 5. Who knows when I'll be able to get that one watched. But finally finished what I own of the series. And, sorry. Other viewing, multiple episodes of CSI. I'm actually really close to finishing Season 1. Watched a little more Friends, couple more episodes of Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events. I've been making good time on Akame ga Kill. I'm loving it. It's a good show. I'm enjoying it. And my brother introduced me, I think it was this week, I'm pretty sure it was this week, introduced me to a rather strange little animated show called BoJack Horseman. It was interesting. I saw a couple episodes. Yeah, speaking of Netflix. Other than that, the reading. I read a little bit more of the Wonder Woman series. I finished Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca. And having finished it, I will say, Selznick seems to have won the battle with Hitchcock. It is a fairly faithful adaptation of the book. There are some changes, obviously. There were some scene changes. A lot of stuff was trimmed or cut out. A couple characters were cut out. But overall, Hitchcock's Rebecca's pretty faithful to the book. So, good to know. And it is a very well-written book. It just took a while because the writing style, and there's a lot there. It's not the shortest book in the world. Speaking of short books, I not only finished number 5 on my list of the Great American Read for the week, I finished number 6. I read Lois Lowry's The Giver in a day. Very, very, very quick book. But once again, I'm wondering how they determined which books to list singly and which ones to list as a series. Because The Giver is 4 books.
Yeah.
They only cited the first one on the Great American Read. But it ends in such a way that it's like, I want to read the other books. It can't end this way. What? So, it's kind of like, you know, with Anne of Green Gables, it was a self-contained book. It didn't feel like you needed more. I would like to read more, but with The Giver, I feel like I've got to read the other books. But technically, I can mark it off the list because they only had the first one. And I have started number 7. I started today. I'm actually dipping into my personal collection now. But this is a very fun book so far. It's by Mark Haddon. It's called The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, which I love that title. That's a good title. Down dog. Yes, exactly. And it's told in first person from the point of view. I'm pretty sure the kid's autistic. It's a very interesting book. But basically, I've only gotten a few chapters in, but the chapters are numbered by prime numbers. It's a very interesting way of doing it. So yeah, that's I think that covers it for me for the week as far as reading and viewing.
You actually had a video game that you...
Oh, yeah.
You don't get that very often.
Yes, not very often. Again, you got to do some cat sitting. So I decided to help him out on his Injustice game. Leveling up characters. So Harley Quinn is no longer a level 6. She's a level 10.
Oh, right. Might be able to stand toe-to-toe with Aquaman.
Yes. And I added additional levels for Scarecrow, Poison Ivy, Catwoman, Black Canary, and Starfire. So, good times. If you've not played Injustice, or Injustice 2 is specifically the one I'm talking about, if you've not played it, it's a fun franchise. I've said before, I don't do a lot of video gaming, but I've always liked fighting games, partly because you don't have to spend days on end to get anywhere. Mm-hmm. You can do some battles and be good to go. So, and that's what I did.
So, well, for me, I haven't really done a lot of watching, so to speak. Mm-hmm. I've finished a lot of stuff, but most of the stuff I've done, I haven't really been on to a lot of the stuff I've been working on. Though I have been working on a game. It's called Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon, which is a freebie that they had originally given with the Kickstarter game for a sort of Castlevania, not a Castlevania itself, but Castlevania-inspired game. And so he came up with this game. He gave it free to backers, and it cost me about $10 on the Vita. And it really does feel like a Castlevania game, except the controls are tight. They are really good. And it plays a lot like Castlevania 3, where you're switching between different characters with different movesets, and you're using them to get through different types of challenges, and you can take different routes through each stage. I've been playing the heck out of it. I haven't beaten it yet, but I'm hoping to beat it sometime in the near future, which can tell you, well, how I'm going with that. And with the new systems that are handheld, you can just pick it up where you left off. You just put it in rest mode, and you're good, unless it, dies. So that's just a really cool thing. I really am enjoying it. I was psyched up with that one. People have been talking about how good it is, and with it being as cheap as it was, it's like, you know what? Let me get in on this. It doesn't take a lot of my concentration, and it's kind of fun. So I did manage to watch a couple of significant things. I watched the series, the HBO series, From Earth to the Moon. Now, I'd never seen this before. I knew Tom Hanks had some part in it, but I didn't realize he was more of a narrator. I think he played a couple of parts, but none of the main parts that I saw. And it really was good. I was impressed with the different angles, and I really liked the last episode where they talk about Melia and A Journey to the Moon, and sort of how that inspired it, or how it is inspired that we always look towards that new horizon. It's very different. I've seen a lot of these shows inspired by this the right stuff. First, the Astronauts' Wives Club. Gosh, there was another one. But just an Apollo 13.
Yeah.
A number of these. But this one was genuinely good. It was used. I got to prioritize used when I actually get a chance. Matter of fact, a lot of these were because they were used that I moved forward. I watched the double feature, which by the way is out of print, of Sometimes They Come Back and Sometimes They Come Back Again, which is a Stephen King inspired series. It's simply, the first one at least, is, these people, they died, leaving this one or two people left alive, and the ghost found a way back to the real world to try and finish the job. The second one takes a weird demonic ritual dealy, and there's a third one which I have on a list to get, but I'm in no hurry. But the first one was really good. The second one was meh. And I'm sure the third one will also be meh. I got to revisit one of my favorites, a little bit creepy, but one of my favorites for child's films, which is Small Soldiers. I don't know if you remember that one.
I know of it. I don't think I ever saw that.
It's kind of interesting. It's about this this company that is making child's toys, and they said, well, why can't we just make the soldiers move and talk like that, like they do in the commercials?
Oh, why not?
So they take these military chips and put them in the minds of them, and then they program them to fight like the alien-looking guys, which they program to like only peace and love and basically hiding, and they're meant to lose. Well, these things, like in all of these type of films, they go haywire. But there are a couple of parts that are genuinely creepy as a kid, where they tear apart these Barbie dolls, for instance, and they put them together in these weird Frankenstein poses, and they have them attack people. It is one of the creepiest scenes I've seen in one of these films.
Speaking of, you reminded me of something that I think we probably should have covered last week, but we grew up, apparently, I grew up watching, and I think he grew up watching The Adventures of Mark Twain. And last weekend, he had a bunch of people over and showed us a scene from the movie, which I have seen. I admit I haven't seen it in a while. But I felt like everyone here was going, what is this? This is horrible. Kids watch this? And we're like, yeah.
Well, I did throw out the creepiest scene in the entire film. The scene with the devil was one of the creepiest things that I'd watched as a kid.
Yes. But that's a good movie. It's a claymation movie from the early 80s, which by itself is a creepy idea, but, you know.
Claymation was big in the 80s.
Yeah.
So I watched one also this week, which took me aback so much I had to film a review for it, which he got to see me edit. And that was Wrinkles. I finished the editing. That will be going up this week. And it's been a while since I've done a review on this site. I think Doki Doki School Hours was the last. But this one, animated film from Spain, I mean, I teared up several times in it. That takes a lot to provoke that kind of emotion. And when a film can do that, that really does show importance. And I need to give that a little bit more of a boost. So those few people who do get to watch that review, I suggest you check this one out. It is well worth your time. You can check out my review if you don't believe it. I talk it up a little bit in that time.
Of course, this, I think you're talking about tears from tugging on the heartstrings.
Yes.
The next film he has on the list, a lot of people cried at this one, but it was more tears of rage.
Bitterness. A lot of bitter tears for that one. I finally got to see Star Wars The Last Jedi. That one, I understand why people were upset with certain things. I even understand why they bullied that poor girl.
No, I don't understand
I
that.
understand why. I didn't say that I thought it was justified.
No, it's...
Nerd rage is stupid. I mean, I think it's more for the fact that she had sort of a thing with Finn, I think is his name. Yeah, and they wanted that to be exclusively with other person. And I don't know. It's aggravating.
Yeah.
She didn't probably have the body type that they all wanted. It's... Nerd rage is... I'm just getting tired of it. I mean, with Ghostbusters, I kind of took the side, but I didn't take the side. I didn't take the side of rage, but I was caught up in it because I was caught up in the counter rage. As in, either you love it or you hate it. You cannot have a meh reaction to the film, which is exactly how I felt about the film, which was meh. No, it wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It was meh.
Yeah, there's never any justification for bullying people.
No.
And definitely bullying an actress just because you don't think that that role should have been in the movie, or you think that it's not her fault. The screenwriters should be more accountable. I'm not saying you should bully anyone involved with the film, but do not bully an actress because of the way the film was written or something along those lines. That's just... Yeah.
They wanted to redo the film.
Yeah.
Because they didn't like how they did Luke. They said, well, it contradicts all of the side books and comics, but none of them are canon.
Yeah.
And it says in the petition that they are canon, but George Lucas himself says they are not canon. If George Lucas says they are not canon, then guess what? They were not canon. Now the mouse decides what's canon or not. But if you're trying to go back to Lucas, you know. But, any case, I understand if you dislike the movie. You have the right to dislike the movie and what it stands for. And the fact that Luke was kind of a coward in the movie. So I'm looking to see who they're going to kill off next. I would think Carrie Fisher's character. Because she's already dead. That would be an easy one to do that with.
They kind of missed the timing of that. Was obviously beyond anyone's control, but the timing was most unfortunate.
So it's kind of sad. I really didn't mind the movie. I did like Force Awakens better. I mean, there's a part of me that always thinks to myself, okay, well, she's too good too quickly.
Yeah.
Even Anakin took training, but she didn't even need training to be as good as she was.
Yeah.
So she was technically stronger than Anakin in the Force. But then, at the movie, it showed that she was fallible and that she was capable of failure.
Yeah.
So this is something that there's dogs in the background.
Yeah.
This is something that I was fine with. I think that was something that was needed. But again, I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing the next one. I'm in no hurry as I was with this one, but I was glad to finally get to see it.
And a lot of people complained about the humor, but I got to admit, the opening scene where Poe is dicking around with the guy from the Empire, I thought that was hilarious. I realized it didn't entirely jibe with... They were making the guy look foolish. I'm like, who cares? He's a bad guy. He can look like a fool. But I thought that was entirely in keeping with Poe's character.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a fun way to start the movie, So, but I had a lot of people complain about forced humor and all that stuff. And I'm like, whatever. A lot of the humor throughout the series is forced.
So in more artistic news,
Yes.
I watched a Criterion film,
Ooh.
Kicking and Screaming. Not the one...
I was going to
two of them.
say, that's
No,
not the Will Ferrell film.
Not the Will Ferrell film. The other Kicking and Screaming from '95, an indie film. And it really does speak to me as, yes, this is a Criterion film.
Well, the Will Ferrell one would be barely a candidate for the Tinfoil collection. Barely.
So this one's, of course, about college students who have graduated and they're still trying to find their lives. And you learn more about this through their conversations with each other and their relationships. Good enough, but it reminds me of almost every indie film from the 90s. It seemed like every film from the mid-90s to early 2000s was people trying to find themselves. But, still, well done. Interesting dialogue.
Well done.
Decent film. Then, of course, I saw a film on the opposite end of the spectrum called Sanatorium by After Dark something. You can correct me in the comments. After Dark something. Yeah. But
something.
it was the offshoot of 8 Films to Die For. And this one was fun. It reminded me of several other films, a sort of haunted sanitarium film, which is the first person view found footage type film.
Oh,
and
one of those.
It was enjoyable. It was kind of slow, but the ending definitely picked up. You saw where this is going, but they did that. It's the formula. You slow build. I'm sure I'll probably see if Kim wants to see that later. My wife likes these types of films, so I'm sure she'll be fine with it. So on to news. I've got less than you, so why don't I start?
Okay.
And then I'll just let you move on. Because if there's anything that doubles up, I might as well grab it.
Well, yeah, there was definitely one that we both want to cover. I know.
Well, I'll hit that one last,
Okay.
and then we can both talk about that. So Robert Redford's retiring from acting.
I had not heard that. That's notable.
So that's something kind of cool. I mean, when somebody says that, do they really mean that they're going to retire? Right. I mean, even Rick Moranis, who is pretty much genuinely retired, has done some stuff. And did you know he was on a recent episode of, I think, Goldberg's? He
really?
reprised the character Dark Helmet for it.
Really?
Yeah, in a recent episode.
Huh.
I even saw it. So
last I'd heard, he was still adamantly out of the game, but it is nice though if you're in a position to be able to. Well, I can do a one-off. You know.
I was surprised about it myself because he's been so adamant against it. He occasionally would do a voice acting part, but this is just that just to me was surprising when I saw that this was recent. This was 2018.
I need to see the Goldbergs. That's supposed to be pretty good.
Be fun. Of course, The Meg is killing it in theaters right now, but not exactly. Killing it, but not exactly with a lot of competition.
Well, it is notable. I don't know if you saw this or not. I think it's worth noting that the film apparently is a co-production between the U.S. and China. Mm-hmm. Very few films that have that distinction, and it could be pretty. It's got an interesting cast. Could be pretty good.
Knowing what's very popular in China, Transformers is loved in China.
Yep, no count for taste.
So, in Me Too news, Chris Hardwick is returned to The Talking Dead, and many staff have decided to quit over his reinstatement as a thing. He should never work again. Again, that's a bit strong considering that they've investigated and there's been no proof found that these things have happened. I do say the person who supposedly wronged, first off, has still yet to call him out by name, and two, claims that she has evidence. If you really want this to go through, release the evidence so that we can see. Because if you don't release the evidence and you don't name this, there's no reason to blackball a person that we don't even know is the person that has supposedly wronged you. And of course, again, I'm not going to I would never understand anybody dying on this proverbial sword. I understand if it was somebody like somebody like some of these other ones that have been shown to, yes, they have done this. Yes, definitely. But or even like the guy who created Rick and Morty. I could see people resigning from that because that terrible pilot, they did that. And he admitted, yes, he did that. But this, we don't even know if this is real or not. So until it's real, I mean, hold on to your jobs. I mean, really. We should not be just saying, allegations are all that's needed to condemn a person. Yeah. So, Dora is now 17 years old. In her live-action movie.
Live-action movie?
Yes, there were rumors that Michael Bay was involved, but those were false. But a company that associates with Michael Bay is involved. And they have hired a 17-year-old with Dora to be playing Dora the Explorer. And they have released the first shots of this.
So is this a prequel to Dora the Grown-Up, or is it a...
That's what I thought. But they claim it's not a parody, but how can it be anything but, really?
Oh, man.
Of course, then we have some political news. If Me Too wasn't political enough. An artist, pro-Trump artist, decided to coat the Hollywood Walk of Fame with only Trump stars.
Oh, jeez.
So, well, I guess it's a response to them trying to pull his star. They are talking about pulling his star off of that, which would be, I think, a first. I don't know if they've ever pulled somebody's star.
I don't know.
But
someone sure tried.
I do agree, though, that if this person's star is pulled, you need to start looking at other people's stars. Otherwise, all you're doing is political activism. You don't like this person because of their political party. You're going to pull them. No. That I disagree with. I don't care if I don't care for this man or what he does. I understand if you pull it for reasons, but you're going to have to also pull Bill Cosby's.
Yeah.
And you have to pull, gosh, what's his name?
Weinstein?
Well, Weinstein. Does Weinstein have a star?
I'm sure he does.
Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey does have a star.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to pull them too. But to me, I don't think any of them should be pulled.
Yeah.
People earn these stars not because of their reputations as evil people. They earn the stars because of the accomplishments they made.
I guess it would be similar to the debate over monuments.
Yeah.
It'd be the same basic thing. And again, not to go too far off the entertainment news, but I'm going to say, whether or not you agree with a particular monument, having it up there, it's history. It's not really, you're not really promoting a particular viewpoint just because the monument's there. You know what I mean?
Well, in this case, especially because all this is promoting is that the show did enough. The show had nothing to do with political stuff.
I'm assuming this was for the celebrity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, also in Hollywood Walk of Fame, Weird Al Yankovic is getting his own star. And that will be going up soon. That is something well worth checking out.
Yep.
And finally, before we get into the biggest of the big stories, Idris Elba has re-entered the Bond question.
Oh, really?
Yes. He has said that he wouldn't mind playing Bond, but he does not believe that he should play Bond until Bond is played by a woman, preferably a woman of color, because there needs to be racial and gender representation reflected in the Bond franchise. So, again, I don't know. I don't mind the fact if you put a Bond in there, and I'm right in the camp for Idris Elba. I don't mind putting a female in that part if that female is really good for the role. But to put a female in the role just because, well, I say go all out. Make sure that she is a Muslim. Make sure that she is a lesbian. And make sure that she is African American mixed with Arabic. Or, something there that, so you can cover all the bases. I mean...
all the bases, huh?
But does that sound ridiculous? Of course that sounds kind of ridiculous because you're doing it just to make a political statement.
Yeah.
I think that people, so long as, just like with Ghostbusters, so long as it is something that is done from a genuine place of this person is the best from the role, I don't care what religion, what race, what gender, though I would prefer that they actually be English, because, Bond, but they don't have to be, I guess. I mean, they could be Ethiopian Bond. I mean, but so long as the person is true to the spirit of the character, it doesn't bother me. But if they do it just to say, no, this is a political statement, and the entire thing doesn't work right, then I have a strong disagreement. It sounds, I don't mean to be sounding alt-right for that.
Well, I mean, we're coming also from the vantage point of, we are geeks. And I mean, for me, for example, the whole nerd rage over comic book castings and that sort of thing. Bond is a comic type character. He may be based on a series of light novels, but really, when it comes down to it, he's a larger-than-life character who has become very much a part of the popular consciousness. But this is, to my mind, I am not someone who likes changing things up just to change them up. If you're basing it on existing material, I'm not one who's all for changing characters up just for racial equality and that sort of thing. I'm like, don't shoehorn racial equality into Bond. Come up with a kick-ass black Bond who's a completely original character. And if you do that, Idris Elba would be a phenomenal choice. I mean, he would be awesome in that sort of role. But I don't really see the need to shoehorn him into Bond. Come up with something new and fresh that's in that same vein. You know? That's my point.
My picture of Bond is the Woody Allen Casino Royale type, which is that James Bond is just a name handed to a particular agent.
007 is
and there are like multiple Bonds all over the place. That's how I look at it.
That works.
You can easily fit that into that context.
Yes.
But I would make sure that the person does a good job portraying it. Make sure that you get somebody good. Make sure that you're not just looking for whoever. And this isn't a time where we try to find people of certain types. Like they had the deaf person playing in a Silent Voice or Silent something. But that was good. This is allowing for it, but the person was good at what they did. They were able to act out the character. It wasn't just some person that couldn't act that they threw in there.
Right.
You want to make sure that you do something good for the role.
And Elba's a hell of an actor, so he can do it. Yeah.
I mean, let's say if they made Black Panther gay for the first thing, and then they made him like have a sex scene on camera or something like that.
Okay. Well, we've got we've got something like this coming up soon. Should I go ahead and do that part real quick? Did you see the whole thing about the Batwoman casting?
Oh, I thought that you said that they were. I thought you were going to say that they were making Black Panther gay.
No. But you, I know you love this kind of stuff. So if you hadn't already seen this, the news of I think it was this past week that they announced the casting for Batwoman. Yeah. But anyway, so Batwoman, Kate Kane, will be entering the Arrowverse as of this December, I think it is. She is going to be in the crossover episode, and then they'll have a solo Batwoman series, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think so.
I was not a huge Batwoman until I started reading it, and the comics are kind of dour and dark, and but she's a fascinating character. But one thing that, oh man, Nerd Rage really sometimes pisses me off. And this week...
Why are they upset about it? Because I didn't see any problem with the casting.
So Ruby Rose, who I think stars in Orange is the New Black, has been cast as Kate Kane.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were like, oh man, this is awesome. Because, you've got one thing that a lot of people are really excited about is that you not only have a superhero series with a woman at the center, which Supergirl is doing the same thing, but it's still pretty rare. But it's a woman who happens to be an open practicing lesbian.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are really excited about this. And they cast a gay actress, Ruby Rose. A lot of backlash apparently is happening that she's not gay enough.
What?
And I'm like, oh my God, can you come up with a stupider argument? I can't imagine. What? It's like, oh man, a lot of people are also saying, well, she's not Jewish. And I'm like, oh yeah, like that, really? Only Jews play Jews, only Christians play Christians. Yeah, right. How many movies have you seen? It's like, oh man, I'm like, that's a stupid argument. But this... Oh, there's so much backlash against her because she's not exactly what they had in mind. And I'm like,
well,
major face palm.
The pendulum of rage swings both ways. There's a lot of,
and there simultaneously, there's this Disney character. Apparently, they cast a straight dude to play a gay guy in a Disney film.
Okay.
And the same people apparently are raging against that. And I've had some people saying, like, how can you have it both ways? And I'm like, yeah, how can you can no one please, it's like, I'm not familiar with Ruby Rose, but I think she looks the part. And if she's talented, like you said before, if she's talented, Batwoman could be an awesome series.
I had no problem with her being cast.
So I'm excited, but I just saw this today, and I'm like, oh my God, nerd rage makes me sad to be a nerd sometimes. It's, oh man.
People get triggered by the darndest things these days. I mean, though a lot of my rant sounds like I've been triggered by a lot of these, it's not really the case. It's more just, I just want to see something that's good.
We do have something coming up that triggered my nerd rage.
Oh, the Academy Awards. Well,
yes.
The Academy Awards is trying to make it popular, which they've been trying this for a long time. You're
not
failing.
The People's Choice Awards. You're the Oscars.
They're supposed to be this artistic kind of snooty thing, but it's for the Academy. It's not necessarily for the layperson. It's for people who are either members of the Academy or people like myself and Kotobuki Jake who are film buffs, film geeks. People who love that sort of thing. So, of course, all the changes that they do slap those people who actually do love this particular type of thing in the face. Slightly. Just slightly.
3 major changes announced this week, and all of them suck.
Well, I'll hit 2 of them, and then I'll let you take the rest. How's that? So, of course, the 2 that I'm going to hit are just timing issues, and I'll let you hit the award because you've been reading up about that. Yeah. But timing issues is like, it's too long. They already do this with the Grammys, I believe.
Yeah.
Where they're going to hand out some awards during the commercials, so you're not going to get some speeches. You're gonna find out who won, but otherwise that's all you're gonna get.
Well, apparently they're going to air highlights.
Yeah, highlights of it. But and then you're gonna be able to go online and you're gonna be able to see the rest of the speech. So this is something that does irk me a bit, because even the small categories, they're not throwaway things. These people worked hard.
Yeah.
They deserve their moment in the sun.
Yeah.
Don't toss them out.
Yeah.
And then of course they're moving it back earlier in the year. They're moving it towards beginning of February.
2 weeks earlier.
And I don't know. I really don't see the point in that. Most people know when the Oscars are coming. Yeah. To me, that's just, it gives me less time to prepare to watch it. Even though we're not meant to watch any of these films.
Oh, obviously.
So it's still, I don't know. To me, it just still comes across as pretentious. It comes across, well, as the Oscars sometimes are getting notorious for. And then the last part, which I will let you cover, to me is the most pretentious of them all, which is the new award.
Okay, I'm going to leave the one about the cutting the time a little bit, because we kind of covered that. The date of the awards. We have raved about this before on this show. Or ranted, rather.
I don't want to go on a rant here, but America's foreign policy makes about as much sense as Beowulf having sex with Robert Fulton at the First Battle of Antietam. I mean, when a neoconservative defenestrates, it's like Raskolnikov filibuster deoxymonohydroxynate.
The hell does rant mean?
One, I love that the awards timed with my birthday. I love that. That's great for a film geek. You ruined it for me. You ruined my birthday.
So now I forget when his birthday is every year.
Yeah. But the other thing is, this is the thing that really pisses me off. We don't live in L.A. County. And we don't have tons of money. Which means that for the vast bulk of these movies, we don't get to see them. Mm-hmm. If you really, really, really want to make the show more popular, you need to push the date back so that people have more time to see stuff. Don't push it forward so no one can see anything. It makes no sense at all. Okay, but then this is the part that really, the new award.
Really grinds your gears.
You know what really grinds my gears?
You know what grinds my gears? So, anyway, what else rant me? Okay, so, I've been saying for a while that there has to be an Oscar for Best Use of Music in Film. There really does. It's a great category to have. There need to be Oscars for vocal acting. either male and female, or you could do a single category.
Yeah.
That's up to you. But we need Oscars for vocal acting. If the Academy is going to continue to insist that categories like art direction and sound do not apply to animated features, there needs to be comparable categories for the animated features, because they should dominate those categories. They should have one for casting. They should have one for stunt work. There's a lot of great Oscars that we could be adding. So what do? Best Achievement in Popular Cinema, I think is what they're calling it.
The Black Panther Award.
It's the Black Panther Award, or the Marvel Award, but it's going to be Black Panther this year. It is basically what they are doing. It's like what they did with animated feature. They heard the critics that said these movies don't get any love, and so they created a little category where they can ghettoize these movies and say, okay, well, we're going to give you this category. We might still give you a visual effects nod. And there you go. Shut up about Best Picture.
Yeah.
You know, that's really... This category is the worst thing they could have done.
Well, they've been notoriously snooty with popular films.
Yes.
Comic book movies especially.
Yeah.
Superhero comic book movies on top.
Yeah.
And, of course, a lot of them, like horror, they don't get any mention whatsoever. It's a sad thing.
And actually...
Get Out's a good example of one that they could also kind of push in the corner for this.
Get Out was the rare example of a popular movie that got in last year.
Yeah.
But some of the ones like last year, like Logan, got marginalized.
Yes.
And you've got all the Marvel ones get pretty well marginalized. So this is definitely... This looks to me like this is going to be... We're going to do this so that we don't have to give these films Best Picture consideration. And it's stupid. And, and then, of course, they expanded the field in the first place so that these films might have a better shot. Yeah. And they've consistently left them out in the cold. They haven't even had a field of 10 since the first year, I don't think.
No.
They've done field of 9 several times, but there have been some years where there were 8. And it's like, you easily could have fit another film or two in. You're not even trying Oscars.
I mean, if they're willing to put people in, or put ones in who are questionable, like, I still feel like I'm questionable about, with all the Me Too stuff. Of course, this was slightly before, with, what was it? The one, Affleck's brother.
Casey Affleck, yeah.
But, if they're willing to overlook these things because of their artistic integrity, you could say. That they don't consider the ones that us plebeians, of course, like real art in cinema, and that can be a problem.
Look, Black Panther and Infinity War and The Incredibles 2
and Teen Titans Go to the Movies.
I haven't seen that one yet. But those three I just said, all of those were excellent, top-notch films that featured Oscar-level work in multiple departments. Yeah. Some of which the Oscars don't have awards for, some of which they do. But, like you were saying before, this is the Academy's short-shrifting hard work. It really is. You cannot make a film like Infinity War without hard work and skill, But anyway, speaking of awards, on a more positive note, there's a comics awards called the Harvey Awards that has created a couple new categories, and I thought this was worthy of note. What's up?
I'll be back. You go ahead.
They previously had a category called Best American Edition of Foreign Material, which they've split into two: Best European Book and Best Manga. And I think that's kind of awesome that they're doing a separate manga category. The first nominees in the category are going to be super popular titles: My Hero Academia, which is a phenomenal manga, and Tokyo Ghoul, which I have not yet read. Your Name, the manga-tization, if you will, of a phenomenal movie. And two I'm less familiar with: My Brother's Husband and My Lesbian Experience with Loneliness. Interesting title there. Another notable thing that has gotten a lot of mixed buzz. You probably saw something about this. AT&T bought Otter Media.
God.
They now own Crunchyroll, among other things. Yeah. And then, let's see here.
Actually, on that note, just as of mergers, you know, of course, St. Clair Media had been trying to consolidate. They'd been in the news because they had been scripting most of their stuff for what news people were supposed to say.
Right.
Very, what's the word? Political leaning towards one particular side. They were going to buy up even more, but then they screwed up. When the current head of the FCC says you are too shady to be allowed to do this merger, that's messed up. This is a man who actually believes that screwing over the common man is a great thing for America. And he says this is going too far. So this tells me how shady it is. So I'm kind of glad that merger went away. And what's funnier is the ones who actually they were going to merge with basically said, you screwed us over. You screwed this merger. We're suing you. So St. Clair has not only lost their merger, but they're going to be sued in the case. So
wow.
Just as a merger news, since you were covering that part.
And this is not merger news, but in terms of like partnerships and whatever, Right Stuff has created a partnership with 11 Arts. And they're going to be the home video distributors for 11 Arts movies. The first releases are going to be one that I've heard a lot about that I want to see, called Haikara-san, Here Comes Miss Modern. And also parts 1 and 2 of Laughing Under the Clouds Gaiden. The Comiket 94, the the major comic market in Japan, had 210,000 attendees Sunday, hitting the one-day record set in December. So they are getting some mad people there. Of course, Otakon was also this weekend, and I didn't get to go, and I want to go one of these days. But anyway, a couple other random things. AIC is crowdfunding a new El Hazard series. They're going to call it The Dual World. If you're not familiar with El Hazard, it's a fun little series. I might need to look into chipping a few bucks into this, because I'd love to co-produce an anime. And then we got our release news. Those of you who watched our video of the Anime That Need a Second Chance, the re-release video, good job, thank you. Amazingly, an hour or so after he posted the video, Discotek announced that they're releasing 2 of our 15 choices.
See, they watched it.
They obviously, this is like corporate espionage. They stole our secrets before they were.
Yes.
But Discotek is releasing 2. One I'm super, super excited about, and obviously that's Bobobo.
Yes, of course.
But yes, they have announced that they will be re-releasing Bobobo. But this is the really important one. They're re-releasing Kimagure Orange Road. Yes.
Now, there were a couple on that I also thought were important. Galaxy Express 999 will actually get a full release for the first time.
They're getting. They announced a lot. It was like 10 episodes. And one of them was a new Lupin the Third movie, which
season 4. Of the series, and the rest of and they have guaranteed that they are going to finish season 2, which I was worried about, frankly, because they've gotten what was released in America originally, but I was worried they were going to stop, and that was going. They did say that they could only do the sub from this point on, but I like this because I actually that was my first experience with Lupin. By the way, it was the second season.
And Lupin is an awesome series. It's a lot of fun, and definitely it's a huge franchise. And God knows if we'll ever get the whole thing here. But if we can get most of it, that's awesome. And I'm excited. but I'm super excited. Kimagure Orange Road is going to be released on Blu-ray and DVD, and it's going to be released in 2 parts, which means it's going to take up a whole lot less shelf space than his version. And they're releasing the entire series on one set, and the OVA series and the first movie on the second set. The second movie is not getting re-released, but then it was originally released by a different company anyway, and no one really cares about the second movie. And I have the second movie, so I don't need it. So this is awesome all the way around. So there. Yes.
Actually, I do. The second movie is still readily available.
Yeah.
So it's the cheapest thing you could get.
It was an ADV release, and there's still a lot of ADV stuff floating around out there. It's mostly rare, but it's mostly pretty cheap as far as out-of-print anime goes, except for the high popularity stuff. The really, But anyway, as far as release news, I also went to Right Stuff's page to see what they've recently added. Some of this had been previously announced and some had not. But there was some really notable upcoming stuff, including a confirmation of the Sailor Moon S movie coming out soon. But these are the most exciting ones. Metropolis is getting re-release on Blu-ray DVD Steelbook. So I may have to try and get that. Aniplex. Sometimes I hate when I'm right. But I was right. I had said, why in the holy hell would Funimation drop Full Metal Alchemist? And the only explanation I could think of was Aniplex wanted it back.
Yep.
And sure enough, they got it back. Now, I will say this. They have confirmed a fall release for Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood in 2 parts. The first part is episodes 1 through 30 and 2 of the OVAs. And the second part is the remainder of the series and the remainder of the OVAs. I think it's 2. So I think it's 32 episodes and 36 episodes, I think is the split. And they're retailing them at about $100 each, which by Aniplex standards is freaking cheap. I mean, it's still expensive. But by their standards, it's cheap. And if you don't have FMA Brotherhood, this might actually be a decent way to get it. But, so I'm relieved that they're at least not trying to break it up into little bitty pieces. But
4 episodes for $100.
Yes.
Which they have done.
Actually, speaking of, the other super expensive boutique company, Pony Canyon, also announced a re-release. Yuki Yuna as a Hero is a series I really want to see. It was one of their flagship titles. They did 2 initial offerings here in the States. They've only done a few so far. But originally, Yuki Yuna as a Hero was released as 3 4-episode limited edition sets that were like $80 a piece. The cheapest I've seen them is about $60 a piece. So I'm actually thrilled that they're putting out the entire series in a single volume that they're going to retail at $95. That's still a lot for a 12-episode series, but it's a highly acclaimed series, and it's a whole lot cheaper than $180.
Wait for that Right Stuff sale.
Yeah, I'm going to have to wait for a sale, but if I can get Yuki Yuna as a Hero for $80, I'm going to do it. So I'm thrilled that might be an option. And then finally, in the $100 releases, I might actually have to do this. I want to do this. The classic American series, Batman the Animated Series, is getting a new life on Blu-ray DVD. I think it's Blu-ray DVD combo. I know it's Blu-ray.
Yeah, they're Blu-ray.
They're doing a limited edition collection, complete with little Funko Pops of, I think it's Harley, Joker, and Batman, isn't it?
I haven't seen the...
Yeah, but they've got a really nice limited edition set that Right Stuff is retailing for like $100. But I would love to upgrade that to Blu-ray. My question, though, and I need to find out, and this may actually be a deal breaker, or it may make the deal for me. It pisses me off that the original Warner Brothers release was completely out of order, that all the episodes are completely out of order. If the new release, they're in order, I'm going to have to upgrade. Because,
it's hard to upgrade from what I've got. Really.
Yeah, you got a nice set, but
Yeah.
you basically just got a repackaging of the original release, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. It's still out of order, but it's all
Which
the episodes.
ticks me off. Why do they do that with American animation? Like, I liked watching
Like
shows.
Family Guy.
Yeah, well, somewhat. The early seasons were in order. But anyway, so that's the big stuff. The last one that I wanted to mention is just I don't even know if it's this week, but there was news on it this week. I'm kind of excited. I don't know why, because I don't do a lot of video gaming. But for some reason, I'm kind of excited that they're doing a VR for Spice and Wolf. So that could be pretty cool. I don't know. And Shirobako got a new commercial out, and I love Spice and Wolf and Shirobako, so just the idea that they're using them a little more creatively, it's kind of fun. Right? And I think that was it for me. Yeah.
Alright, well, I guess that's going to be it for our vlogcast this week.
Okay.
And, of course, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. If you have not checked out That Nerd Couple, you should be checking it out, because we will be having a video coming out soon, as I can edit it together. And we will see you on the next one.
Goodbye.